Now what we're going to go ahead and do is flip gears, and we're going to boldly go and begin our weekly segment that we like to call Boldly Dadding. So this is a weekly segment where we share some story or lesson learned during the past week as dads to young kids. Now, for those that are just joining and don't know anything about us as dads, as fathers, I have two children. I have a 4-month-old, soon to be a 5-month-old, and I have a 2-year-old. And so there's the house is pretty busy all the time. I think they're both napping because it's very quiet. I'm in my office, but I can hear. I was like, it's very quiet out there. So I think they're still sleeping, which is brilliant, amazing. Let's take a win when we can get a win. You know what I mean? All right, Vactor. So let's give you an opportunity to introduce the audience to your family. So you have...
I have one 18-month-old son. So he is right now currently the only child in my immediate family.
Captain Rick, you had mentioned to me that you are a dog uncle. Is that correct?
That is correct. I am a dog uncle to one dog named Emma, she's a 7-year-old. Actually was the first dog I ever dog sat for, so she's very special to me.
Oh, nice.
As well as another dog, Clovis, who is this border terrier. It was a Korean dog rescue that my friends got during the pandemic. And I feel very connected to this dog because this dog had PTSD, was traumatized. It was very hard to acclimate this dog to be comfortable with other people. So I worked really hard to get this dog to basically cuddle with me, lick me, and even participate in cosplay. I have bought 2 Star Trek bandanas to put onto him, and we have cosplayed together in a couple of TikTok videos, so he is a very special nephew to me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, so within this segment, we talk about something we've experienced over the past week as dads, or in some various parenting role, even in an uncle capacity. I figured I would go ahead and go first. So, throughout our time with this segment, we've talked about maybe setting expectations, realistic ones of your children. But this week, I thought it might be beneficial to talk about how important it is to set realistic expectations of yourself, too. So Vactor and I, we love to play Fortnite together. Captain Rick, are you familiar with Fortnite?
I used to play, but one of my roommates, he's an avid Fortnite player.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you're definitely so you get it. Yeah, they just launched their new season, and we've been dying to play together. And up until I think it was yesterday, maybe, or 2 days ago, we had multiple instances of missing each other with our schedules and just the energy being zapped out of us by the end of the day. And it would be very easy to be upset about that, to be like, oh man, I really want to play this. I've a long day of working, a long day of parenting. I just want to decompress. I just want to, unload, sit down, play a video game with a friend of mine. And then your energy is like, yeah, you might want to do that, but you don't have the energy for it. So you're not going to get the opportunity. I'm just going to make you pass out. And so that happened a few times in trying to schedule with Vactor. And this is not a dig at Vactor. He's a hardworking dad, and I get it. But we missed each other a few different times. And I kind of remembered, I was like, you know what? This is actually a good lesson. Now, this is a lesson in parenting that you can't, you got to be in the moment, right? Like you have to set realistic expectations for yourself and what you're capable of with your free time. Obviously, if your body needs sleep, you got to take advantage of that, and you got to listen to your body, and know that the time to engage in play in some form or capacity, whether it be with a friend, or if you're looking to get out of the house or something like that, it's just important to not get upset that it's not working out for your schedule. Just to focus on the fact that as a dad, as a parent, there's going to be limitations to what you can do. So for me, it was just a good lesson to remind myself the worst thing you can do, I think, in general, and this is not just as parenting, but I think the worst thing you can do is have expectations of others and yourself that are unrealistic, because it's the thief of joy. There's no way it ends well. And so I think the best thing you can do for yourself is just come at things realistically. So that's my contribution. I don't know if you guys want to touch on that or if you want to switch over and talk about your stuff. But that was what I came to this week.
Yeah, that was a very good lesson to learn this week. And me being on the other side of it, I think it is very important. So I'm glad that you brought that up and put that out into the forefront. My boldly dadding story this week comes from my son. I think at this stage, like I said, he's 18 months old, so it's not like he has developed a full, who he's going to be in his life. But I think at this point right now, he's going to be a musician, because every time there is any song played, it doesn't matter what genre it is, it doesn't matter, where he's at, my son will just drop everything he's doing and just start dancing, no matter what it is. And it's hilarious to see, but it's also just kind of like, you look at a child and that innocence that they have of not having any baggage, not bringing anything into, the context of anything. And just, it feels good to dance. Like when you hear music, and especially music you like, it just, your body instinctually, like, I got to move. I got to start moving. And so watching my son, it's been interesting, specifically the songs that, like, he loves making music, like tapping on things, beating on drums. And it's like, man, is he going to be a drummer when he grows up? And just, he hasn't gotten to the point where he's vocalizing it yet. But maybe when he starts singing songs and things, it's going to be interesting. But I just thought that was a funny observation of every time. And also his dancing is funny, just the way that he chooses to move his body. So that was my dad moment this week, was just kind of observing my son and his gyrations. Always a good time.
What did you say is his music of choice right now?
Well, he doesn't have a specific one, because we were out. Actually, we went out to an outdoor mall yesterday, and they were playing country music over the radio, and he was like dancing. And we don't play country music around the house. He was dancing that. He'll hear hip hop or R&B around the house and start dancing that. He'll hear Bluey, on the TV or whatever it is, and any genre, he just dances to everything. But specifically things that have a good drum line, a good drum beat. And so that's why a lot of hip hop, like he just feels that the most. Actually, there is a Rick and Morty song, and the whole chorus is just Rick, 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 Rick. And so he loves that. And to the point where he'll point at our device. We have a Google Home display, and it'll play music. So he'll point at that, and we know what he wants. We know that he wants to hear the Rick and Morty song. So that's been his latest, his go-to is that one.
Raising him right.
I have to say, like,
That's awesome.
I love these segments that you have at the end of your podcast, just because I feel like I love hearing your perspective on, like, how you are being a dad and the lessons you're learning, because, I just have dog nieces and nephews, but, I always wonder, like, what kind of dad am I going to be? What kind of lessons am I going to learn? And I think one of the things you kind of don't realize is that you look at your parents, and you always think that they have everything put together, But in reality, they're just making the stuff up as they go along, just like we do in life, So I look to, your insights, your perspective. I think to how both my parents, they were immigrants, so they primarily worked all the time. And the only parenting they would do is like, education is important. You should just go to school, get a good education, get a good job. And that was pretty much it. And I kind of wish that my parents were a little bit more proactive and just kind of letting me be and just kind of like helping me, like, guide me in a direction, just help me just to take more of a proactive approach to who I was as I was developing. And I think that's the lessons that I would like to take as a future dad one day, is to just see my kid and just be like, who are you as a person? Let me help you figure that out in any way I can, just to be the person that you want to be. And I think I'm definitely going to be taking all your lessons, and I'm going to be jotting this down. And one day when I'm a dad, I'm going to look back and I'm like, I remember what we talked about in every single podcast.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's very kind. That's very kind of you.
And actually,
go ahead.
I was going to say, that is something that I have found, Rick, looking at my own life and saying, oh, wait a minute. As a kid, I did think that my parents had everything figured out, and life is one way. It's like you go to school, you get a job, and that's it. Like, there's just a set pattern to life. And now, as experiencing it from the other side as a parent and looking at my child, it is that 100% where you're saying, oh, wait a minute, there isn't a set path. There isn't, you're just a cog in a wheel, and you just click in there, and that's it. Like, that's the end of life. Everything has its variation. Everything has its own independent thing. So I've learned that now as a parent, and I was where you were at just, 18 months ago. Like, it wasn't that long ago when I did not have a son, and I was in your shoes 100%. So that I'm glad that you've given us that perspective as well.